Hey gaming fans, so today I have another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile, and this one's Volcanics. This is a fun deck. It's really, it's all fire, and it's meant to blow up your opponent's monsters quite frequently, and potentially draw you some cards. So let's get to the deck profile, and I'll explain the choices. So to start, obviously, we got the Volcanic Shell. I remember using this in various decks just for deck thinning purposes, but once per turn while this card's in your graveyard, you can pay 500 life points to add one Volcanic Shell from your deck to your hand. So this was also helpful in decks that required a lot of discard for cost. So in this deck you actually do that, so it actually works out well. Then I got two Volcanic counters. These are just fun to throw into your graveyard and hope your opponent forgets they're there. When you take battle damage while this card is in your graveyard, you can remove it from play. Then if there's a fire monster other than Volcanic counter in your graveyard, which most cases there will be, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the amount of battle damage you took. So you can do some battle tricks with this card as well. You can also ram your tiny monsters into your opponent's bigger monsters. And there's a good way to do that in this deck, which I'll get to. Then we have probably the MVP of the deck, Volcanic Scattershot. When this card is sent to the graveyard, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. If this card is sent to the graveyard for the effect of a Blaze Accelerator card, you could send two Volcanic Scattershots from your hand, deck, or graveyard to destroy, or deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So you can do some pretty good tricks with this card and actually blow up your entire your opponent's field and inflict some good damage to your opponent. And they might not see that coming. So then you got, so we're out of the Volcanics at this point. For now, I put in 3 Barrier Statue of the Inferno. Again, this is it's a fun deck. It's a good control deck. So why not, since you're playing all fires, try and block your opponent from playing anything. So no monsters can be special summoned except for fire monsters. And so that's pretty good because, there isn't a whole lot of special summoned fire monsters that chances are your opponents are going to be playing from their extra deck anyways. Then we also got 1 Royal Firestorm Guards. I always like to change the amount of this one. Sometimes I play 2. Sometimes they're cloggy. They are kind of a mid to late game type of card, but when this card is normal summoned, you select 4 Pyro type monsters from your graveyard, return them to the deck, and draw 2 cards. So sort of like, a Pot of Avarice built into a monster effect. And as you can see, all these monsters are Pyro. The good thing is it resets your Volcanic Shells and your Scatter Shots. So, really good card. I just want to play it at 1, though. And for the other really good Volcanic card, 3 of the Volcanic Rockets. Obviously, this is what makes the deck work. When this card is normal summoned, flip summoned, or special summoned, I like how they added that in there. A lot of these ones are usually only when they're normal summoned. You get to add Blaze Accelerator card from your deck or your graveyard to your hand. So that's really handy, and you really do need those Blaze Accelerator cards. Then, since we are playing Volcanics, and it's a good way to get rid of stubborn monsters off your opponent's side of the field, 3 Volcanic Queens. So this is kind of an odd one. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card can only be special summoned from your hand to your opponent's side of the field by tributing 1 monster your opponent controls. So it's sort of like a kaiju. And if you special summon this card, you cannot normal summon or set for this turn. So you gotta be careful because you can't just set a monster afterwards. And then once per turn, you could send 1 other card you control to the graveyard to inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. During your end phase, either tribute 1 other monster or take 1,000 damage. So, if this sits on your opponent's side of the field and they don't have anything to tribute, they could be taking 1,000 damage per turn. So, kind of interesting. But it's a 2,500 attack body, so you got to be careful with it, but you can steal it. So, also, because we are going in that route, I threw in 2 of the kaijus because they're fire. And you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field in attack position by tributing 1 monster they control. So just like your Volcanics. And then it's just got the regular kaiju effects, which, you're not really using kaijus in this deck too much, just the 2 of them. And just to round out the Volcanics, 1 of the boss monster, Volcanic Doomfire. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card can only be special summoned by sending one face-up Tri-Blaze Accelerator you control to the graveyard. During your opponent's battle phase, your opponent must attack this monster with any attack position monsters they control. So that's kind of scary if they have like weak monsters in attack mode. When this card destroys a monster and sends it to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed by this effect. So a long time ago, this card was almost impossible to summon because nobody's going to want to play the Tri-Blaze Accelerator card. But now we have Blaze Accelerator Reload, which works as a substitute for that. So it makes it possible to actually summon this guy. So that's the monsters there. Let's get into the spells. So we don't play a whole lot of spells in this deck. So obviously a Monster Reborn. I pretty much always play Monster Reborn. There's only like a few cases where decks wouldn't want to use that card, but I always play it. 2 Pot of Duality, just to add a little bit of speed to the deck, just to draw into what you need, just to get to your, you want to open up with your Volcanic Rocket. So really you need to get through the deck. Magic Planter, because we do play a lot of continuous spells in this, or traps I should say, in this deck, and you might want to get rid of one to draw some cards. Much like the this guy here, where was he? Your Firestorm Guards. I am also playing a Pot of Avarice because there's a lot of cards you want to shuffle back into your deck, so kind of helpful. Foolish Burial, just to get things going into the graveyard. Again, your shell, you might want to Foolish Burial one just so you can get one from your deck to your hand. You could also Foolish Burial your Volcanic counter to make your opponent second guess attacking you, or if you're ready with a Monster Reborn or something, you can throw your rockets into the graveyard and reborn them. So, and the last one is an actual Blaze Accelerator, just because you might need to use it. So you can go on your first turn with your Volcanic Rocket, grab a Blaze Accelerator if you need to, and use it with the shells or whatever. So I just threw one in there because we are playing the trap version of it. And now on to the traps. So like I said, we are playing the Blaze Accelerator Reload card. This card actually also makes the deck work. This card's name becomes Tri-Blaze Accelerator, so that's why you can get out your big guy while it's in the spell and trap zone. During either player's main phase, you can send one Volcanic card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, draw one card. You can only use the effective Blaze Accelerator Reload once per turn. So that's great because then you can send your Volcanic, not your shells. Where is it? Just had it. There it is. The Scatter Shots. You can send your Scatter Shot from your hand to the graveyard. Send the other 2, wipe out your opponent's field. So just before they go to attack you, you can blow up their whole field and then do some effect damage. And then during either player's main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to send one Volcanic card from your deck to your graveyard. Again, you might want to send a shell, you might want to send a counter, or if you have a Reborn or a Call of Haunted ready, you can grab your rocket or whatever you need. So really a useful card. I always love when they have graveyard effects like that. Then because we're playing all fire monsters, let's play some Gozen matches. Each player can only control one attribute of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. So it kind of be funny if they have the one monster out and you send over a Volcanic Queen. Now they can't summon any monsters unless they're playing fire. So then we got 2, remove Brainwashing. Just another trick to, you might want to, tribute their monster with the Queen or with your Kaiju. And what'll happen is you'll tribute their monster and then it'll come over to your side because it's your card. So then you still have a monster, they don't have anything, and then you can attack. So kind of a fun trick. And again, you have a Magic Planter if you don't need it. 2, Call It a Haunted. Again, all continuous traps. Again, same idea. You might want to reborn a rocket or whatever you need. And then 2 Save Zones. I was just thinking, if you get your statues out, you might want to protect them somehow. So if you can get a statue out in defense mode, then you can safe zone it and then just keep it there, just to slow your opponent down from special summoning. So that's pretty much the deck. I did not really create an extra deck because there wasn't much I could think of that would go in here for an extra deck, because you are playing the Gozen matches, so there isn't a whole lot of fire options. I don't know if you know of any good fire monsters I could have thrown in there. I mean, I was thinking of like these guys, but you know, they're not really that useful. So the deck really doesn't need the extra deck, but who knows, maybe you guys can think of something that can go in here. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Let me know what you think. What would you take out? I was thinking of playing 2 magic planters, but this could also be a dead draw too, so just gotta be careful. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.